Yes, ma'am. Well, welcome everybody. It's great to be waiting again. This is the full room. Welcome to our journey. We have a new board member, so I'd like everybody to help me welcome Mr. Joel Bishop. He's going to be the second county representative on the board. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, we do, Commissioner Butler. Our first individual who would like to speak for public comments is Paul. Paul Buchanan.
May I just stand here?
And yes, sir. And Paul Buchanan with Transit.
Yes, thank you. Members of the ETA board, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm speaking with you.
Sorry.
Closer. I'm speaking with you about your deliberations on the RFP 25002 today. I'm speaking also on behalf of TransDev and TransDev's dedicated local El Paso team. We've had the pleasure of serving El Paso County and ETA Transit for nearly 11 years now. Sun Metro had an opportunity to submit a proposal for either of the packages through the RFP process. This would allow ETA Transit to evaluate the proposals on a level playing field with all of the proposals submitted. I am asking the ETA board to move forward with an award from the RFP process. This gives the best value to ETA Transit and your constituents. Thank you for letting me speak.
Appreciate it. And Commissioner, our next speaker will be Dr. Terry Quesada, representing the town of Horizon City, and she does have a presentation, so I'm going to pull it up right now.
Good afternoon, board. Terry Quesada. I'm the Consulting Capital Improvement Program Manager for Horizon City. I come before you today to present a project that the city is submitting to the Transportation Alternatives funding source and to seek your letter of support. I recognize that this item is not posted for action for the board today. But we wanted to bring this information to you because the application is due by June 13th. So we wouldn't have time to give you any background information prior to the time that the application is due. So the presentation, if you will indulge me, gives you a background as to the project, and you will see how this project ties into the transit efforts that Horizon City is undertaking. And those efforts would coordinate with ETA because Horizon City is not looking at being a transit provider. So we want to tell you how this fits into the overall vision of Horizon City. Howard Lowe Drive is an unimproved right-of-way on just east of the intersection between Darrington and Horizon Boulevard. Just to orient you, the roadway that runs across from left to right on the screen, that's Horizon Boulevard. And the other roadway that is somewhat of an angle, that's Darrington Road. And for those of you who've been out in Horizon, you'll know that that is right now peppered with orange barrels, but it is part of the overall improvements that Horizon City is undertaking. The oval in red is the unimproved right-of-way, that's Howard Lowe. It is a platted street. Next slide, please. It is no longer a point of access to Horizon Boulevard. Council took that action in January 2021 when we were looking at the planned improvements for Horizon Boulevard. And it is no longer an access point to Pauling, which is the street to the south of Horizon Boulevard. Next slide, please. This is a platted roadway. It's unimproved right-of-way. There are no properties that front on it, and part of it is owned by the GLO. So it is already something that has been used by utilities. So we don't want to necessarily vacate it, but we want to make sure that we're using it in a way that fosters the economic development and the transit-oriented development that the city is undertaking. Next slide. These are some of the existing pictures, and if we could go through these fairly quickly, just to give you an idea of what this looks like. There is nothing there. It's not the most attractive of areas. And again, that was taken a few years ago, but nothing much has changed. Okay. So we provided these options to council, and that's a pedestrian corridor that would provide access to the transit-oriented development north of Horizon Boulevard. We thought about having it be an area also for food trucks. We would vacate it to vehicular traffic and reduce the access to Horizon Boulevard, which again, we had already determined was not necessary because of its close proximity to the Darrington Horizon intersection. Next slide. We'll go through these slides fairly quickly. The Transportation Alternatives funding source is managed through the Texas Department of Transportation. This is not going through the NPO. It's a two-step process. The city submitted a preliminary application back in February and was approved to move to the next phase, which is where we are right now. You can go to the next couple of phases. Those are the schedules that I'm happy to go over should anyone have questions afterwards. Next slide. There's an opportunity for transportation development credits, which means that there would be no match required from Horizon City. Again, another point in the favor of this project. Next slide, please. These are some of the renderings that our consultant has been developing in support of the application. You'll notice that this becomes a more vibrant area that connects that southern portion of what is currently the city's tax increment reinvestment zone into Horizon Boulevard. And if you'll keep going, Annette, please. This is the crossing at Horizon Boulevard. The next one. And this is the outdoor seating, the food trucks that we had envisioned. And the next one. So again, we're here requesting in whatever capacity the board could support this application. It provides for pedestrian connectivity. It links into a roadway project that is a shared use path on Rodman, which is north of Horizon Boulevard, and that is a boundary to the eastern side of the transit-oriented for Horizon City. So we've got a lot of moving pieces, a lot of projects that the city is pursuing with different funding sources. This is the last one that we want to develop, and we're seeking the ETA support because we believe that this enhances a transit plaza that is programmed. We have design funds for that. We've just entered into an interlocal agreement with the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority so that they can design it for us. So all of this starts creating a funding cocktail that we hope will revitalize those vacant areas in Horizon City and provide the amenities that we want for our pedestrians and for bus users. So again, I know that you can't ask questions, but Annette has my contact information. So if you have any questions of me, please feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to answer anything that you may want to ask about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I see our Horizon City Mayor has joined us. Did you have any comments, Mayor? You'd like to share?
No worries.
Good.
Just thank you for the opportunity to be able to present this. Dr. Quesada does a phenomenal job for us. Witnesses, we'd love for y'all to take this into consideration. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. I guess I do have a legal question. Sure. So I know it's not posted on the agenda. Do we need to vote in order to provide a letter of support?
Everyone, Erica Sofstig, Assistant County Attorney. Thank you for having us. So with the Open Meetings Act, in order for you all to take action as a governing body, we have to post it for the public. So we couldn't vote in public comment. I was letting them know that you could do a few things. So with commissioner support, for example, if the entity wants to approach you as just independent people, right, and that want to, in your own individual capacity, send a letter of support, you can do that certainly offline, and that's totally okay. But as a body, it would have to be posted. So I think the next meeting isn't going to meet the deadline that they need, unfortunately. So short of special meeting, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, we'll just discuss those options then. Thank you. Any other public comment? No, ma'am. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and move to our consent agenda item. And on our consent agenda, we do have the approval of the minutes and the approval of the fiscal agent's financial report. I do want to make note that if you would define those pages, you would just scroll down to page 4 for the minutes, page 8 for the financial report. And on the financial report, that is the final billing that we have received from Barracuda Public Relations. So that will be the final expenses that for the agency. I'll make a motion to approve. Okay, I have a motion for Commissioner Butler, second for Mark Levy. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And Commissioner Butler, I'm so sorry. I neglected to mention that our Anthony board member, Jessica May, is online with us. So she is present as well, virtually.
Okay, I
I
just
do have forms here.
Hi.
Hi to everybody else online. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, so then we'll go ahead and move on to our regular agenda. And we're first going to be receiving a report from our interim director of transit services. And this is regarding disciplines, operational, financial, and other relevant activities. And Javier, would like me to pull up the report that you
Sure.
back? Yes, okay.
And usually at these board meetings, I do, I present information about ongoings within the organization. I'm going to comment on 3 items. One, yesterday we had our press conferences that were held in Isleta, and we invited, of course, the media. Some of you may have seen the coverage that we received. But this had to do with the fact that at the end of June, of course, services in Socorro are going to end. And that is because for the last year and a half, we have been trying to work with the city of Socorro to make sure that they understood that board action of about 9 months ago was that if Socorro did not become a member of the LGC, then services would end at the end of June 30th. We're only about 5 or 6 weeks away, and we wanted to make sure that the public understood that this is happening. And if they wanted to get information about transit services that are going to happen after June 30th, they really need to touch base with City Council. I understand that they have maybe 2 more meetings than City Council. And so the directive that they're going to take is something that we're just not sure. But our concern, of course, is that on July 1st, our buses are going to be driving through Horizon Boulevard, and they won't be stopping in any of the stops where it's the jurisdiction of support. We recognize also that this affects Horizon City, it affects San Elizario, the other communities, because if somebody in Horizon City wants to go to Socorro, they board a bus and they think they're going to get off in Socorro. They're not. They either have to get off before or after bus enters or leaves Socorro. So it's great inconvenience for a lot of individuals. And we've been trying to get as much information from the public as possible. In the fall, we had radio announcements through local radio stations. We had little flyers that were being distributed at different locations. And so I think that we've done as much as we can to inform the public about this development that is going to be happening at the end of June. And so we did understand we're starting to get some phone calls for individuals because, we have phone numbers. We've given out a phone number, as well as the city of Socorro has also begun to receive a few phone calls. And on June 4th, we're having now a public information meeting at the same location. This is the Sergio Troncoso Library, 9300 block of Alameda. And so we're going to be distributing flyers with buses, especially in the routes that service Socorro, to inform, again, the public about the fact that as of July 1st, we will not be stopping in Socorro. And on that June 4th meeting, we're inviting the public to come in, voice their concerns, and of course, we'll present that information to Socorro City Council. So that was something that happened yesterday, very well covered. We had about 5 or 6 stations there. Commissioner Butler was one of the presenters. I presented also some information. Is there any questions?
Yes, I do have questions. Right? Do you have copies of the flyer with you today?
No, I did not.
Could we send that to the board? So
Sure.
we have that.
Sure.
Yeah. Get any questions
Yeah.
from your writers and.
I can include the information in the weekly activity reports, but I can certainly do it again on Friday. Send them out to you. Any other questions regarding? The other, two other items. One item is the chart over here. A little small, but that's I think that's the best we can do. But
Well, and everyone has it.
well, yeah, yep. It's on the there you go. On page 9.
Page 9, yes, sir.
Page 9. Yeah, this is a what we call a spending plan. This gives you an overview of the various grants that ETA has. This is you see, look at the date. The date is actually April the 8th. We prepared this. I prepared this to present to the board at our last meeting, but you may recall we weren't able to have a meeting, so we just kept it on the agenda. But this is a spending plan that shows the various funding, the grants that we've received over the last several years. And it covers of course, the expiration date, the grant amount and the balance, and then of course the percent split. In November of last year, I presented something similar, but on a quarterly basis, it's good practice to report to the board the spending plan regarding funding that is being awarded and where we are with spending these items. The spending plan shows about 19-20 line items on there, but that doesn't mean that there's less 19 different projects, because some of those different line items represent maybe 3 of them might be all for vehicles, and several others could be for like the transit facility, and so, for example, the 8 million of the total dollars for buses, for new buses that we're going to be receiving or have ordered either for paratransit services or for the fixed route services. About $1.7 million is for preliminary work being done for the transit facility that is planned to be built, because there's expenses regarding the studies, the engineering designs, archaeological studies, etc. And so there's about 1.7 million, but not, again, the construction. That's something that we're going to be sharing with the board today through a presentation that's coming up on the agenda. And also a good about $6 million is for third-party contracting. This is when we contract with Dental Program or the Gold Route or Texas Transportation Institute. So this is something that we shared in November, shared it again now, and we'll do so again in about 2 more months, 2-3 months, just so that you can see the trends as to where we're having some activity regarding the grants that we have received. Any questions regarding this? If not, then the third item I wanted to share with you has to do with with the facility presentation. The facility is for the transit buses and for our staff is something that's very important, and it's going to be one of the major additions to the El Paso County. We have a presentation that's going to be presented. It's later on the agenda, but up to now, the $1.7 million that you saw there, some of it has been spent on things like doing the appraisal. We had a secondary appraisal that was done. There's costs in there for design, preliminary design work, surveys that have been done, archaeological, hazardous materials, traffic impact. All of those type of preliminary expenses have been covered through grants that we've received up to now. But the actual construction of the facility, that's something that is the next step. And hopefully that's going to be coming up, in the next year and a half, maybe 2 years. Hopefully we'll be able to use that facility. Today you'll hear a presentation on where we are with the 15% completion. And so it'll be presented a little bit later on in the agenda. I'll just make introductory comments for our presenter when we get to that presentation.
Any questions?
And our next agenda item will be an update from the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Policy Board Representative. That was Mr. Landeros, and with him not being in that position at this time, Harrison is offering to provide some information on updates with MPO that would be allowed. Yes.
Well, I'll just say that
I thought this item was going to be, it's different than what it actually is.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that it would be appropriate for me to
Okay,
give my presentation.
then, with that being said, I don't have anything to report under this agenda, and maybe perhaps.
Well, I was gonna ask the board, because Mr. Landeros isn't here and there's 3 items on the agenda, that he was going to be presenting today. Could I get a motion to delete all 3, please?
I make the motion. Second.
So we have a motion from Mr. Conde, a second from Mr. Rubio.
That'll be items B, D, and E.
B, D, and E. Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion will carry. Okay, so then that will then take us to C, and this agenda item is from the Rio Grande Council of Governments. This is to discuss and take appropriate action to allow the Rio Grande Council of Governments to enter into a web hosting agreement with Spectrum on a month-to-month basis. And you can find that item on page 10 of your tablet. And so the agreement was previously between Barracuda, PR, and Spectrum. And this was to host the website and also provide maintenance and support. And so the cost is it's $200 a month for the hosting and support services, and then $30 for an additional fee. And so it'd be $230 a month. Previously, this was requested for us just to go month to month in case ETA would want to bring this in-house through the county or another venue. So this is just to ensure that we can keep our website open and available to them.
Yes, for the board, we did notice that the board has this website, which looks great. I know you worked on the branding, and we also still have a live website under the county. Usually that's okay. The only thing with the OMA, if you want to keep them both, we'd have to keep posting the agenda and the minutes on both, or if you just want to, we don't have to maybe the board could decide which, if you want to keep both active or just one.
Are we able to completely erase the information that we house on the Paso County webpage, but put please visit us at, so that if somebody still comes to the county, they can be directed to?
Yeah, I do think as long as the public's redirected to where they can find the minutes, the agendas, etc., I think that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought I had had IT update that, and but we still have like our NMDOT Gold Route and the Vominos Vanpool program housed on the county's website, because that's not necessarily under the board. I'll double check.
I think that's a good.
But I think that's where we left it.
And I think at this point, it's duplication, so that's a good thing. So there are minutes and agendas on the counties, and we pulled, that was one of Barracuda's tasks. We did put all of the minutes from the previous meetings on those. Okay, so we did have a motion from Commissioner Butler. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a second, Commissioner Bundy. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Right, and so then we will not be taking up D. And we'll be taking up E. So we're now going to agenda item F. And this is to discuss and take appropriate action regarding the outstanding TransDev invoices related to the Historical Commission and Warming Center Charter services. And Mr. Brunels, would you like to take this?
In January, we're asked to provide transportation to the El Paso Historical Commission. They were having an event, and we were asked if we could provide transportation to them. They were going to be going from the Community Foundation meeting area across Jacinto to Prospect Hill in that area. And so we contracted TransDev by providing the transportation. And of course, after we provided the transportation, then we received an invoice. And so the invoice is for $167. We tried to see if we could pay it through one of the grants, but apparently we couldn't because it wasn't specifically able to pick up the cost of the trip. We then tried to go through the regular county process, but we weren't able to have it paid through that as well. So then we're bringing it back to the LGC about paying this invoice. And so this is $167. And again, it was for transporting the El Paso County Historical Commission for an event that they had. It was, like I said, only about a 2-mile trip, but it was on a weekend. And so consequently, the invoice has been on hold since January. The other invoice has to do with the warming centers. You might recall that in January thereabouts, we had inclement weather that was very severe. And apparently in the past, the county has had warming centers that have been open, and individuals can go there to, get warm during the day. So we, in the past, as I understand, this is before my time, we've had this available in case we're going to be transporting individuals to the warming centers from throughout the community, especially homeless individuals that don't have a place where they can stay warm. So we did contract again, or we did ask Transdev to provide buses to be available. And so there were buses on January 8th, 9th, and 10th. There were 9 in standby, and at $83 an hour. And that invoice came out to $2,257. We again tried to see about paying it through the regular grants. We couldn't. I understand we also approached TxDOT, but TxDOT wasn't going to pay it. So it comes back that we're bringing it back now to the LGC about having us pay it through the funds that we have. That's money that has come in from the municipalities. So this is for $2,257 for warming centers to Transdev for 3 days. Fortunately, I guess, and unfortunately, I understand we didn't have anybody actually that was transported, but nonetheless, we had to be prepared and did have that ready and available. In other parts of Texas, this is something that's done whenever there's some major inclement weather or issues. And as I understand, it's something that in the past has been paid through state funds. But in this particular case, apparently we couldn't. Nonetheless, the invoice is still outstanding. So we're asking the board to pay these 2 invoices.
So the total amount would be $2,424.98 for those 2 invoices combined. And we do have funding available through the budget to pay for these costs. Any questions?
Have they submitted a renewed invoice? I see it was net 30 since February.
Yeah. Well, we have the original invoices. One was issued on February 20th and the other one on, I think, March.
I think we would have to ask if they could, we could be invoiced under the El Paso Area Transportation Services, LGC. That's possible to change the requester.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve. Okay, one will be first. So I have a motion from Commissioner Butler. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second from Mr. Rubio. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion will carry. And just for direction, because we have this approved through the board, we won't present this as a financial report for next month. So we've already been given the direction to pay, so we'll pay that next week. Okay. All right, so then our next agenda item is agenda item G. This is to discuss and take appropriate action regarding the proposed board resolutions for the El Paso Conservation Authority. And this was by Mr. Vanellis. And we still have some items that need to still be reviewed and discussed. And so we would ask if we could delete this item as well, because we're not ready to present it. Yes, I'll make a motion to delete. Okay, a motion to delete agenda item G.
Can I ask, is it to delete or to table?
I would just ask us to delete only because we're transitioning, as you all know, from Kim Smith. Kim Smith started the work on board resolutions. And so we still need to get an idea of it. And normally I would say, we want to get our universe of knowledge on it so that we can help.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And just a little background, but these are board resolutions. It's about 13, 14, 15 resolutions to give direction to management. They were first presented and then they were delayed because we were going to transitioning. And so with Kim Smith being involved and our county being involved, that's part of the transition also. I know Mr. Enda, who is the director that's coming on board on June 23rd. Also, this will give him an opportunity to also see the resolutions.
We were thinking that as well.
Yeah, so it's not that the resolutions are bad, quote unquote, or anything like that. It's just a transition doesn't occur. New director, legal services transitioning from Camp Smith to county attorney. It's an opportunity for everybody to become familiar with the board resolutions.
So we do have a motion from Commissioner Butler. I believe there was a second from Mr. Condi. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion will carry. All right, so then we'll move on to agenda item H, and this is to receive a presentation on public outreach performed for the Texas Transportation Institute's Task Order 10, which is the Community Demand Response Planning. And this is going to be, I believe, presented by Will Rodman, if not Michael Block with TTI, or perhaps Tina.
I was going to say, yes, actually, Tina. Yeah, go ahead, Tina.
It's actually me, Annette. So good afternoon, everyone. I have one slide that was from last month. So Annette, I don't know if you have that already, or should I share my slide from my screen?
Can you please share your slide from your screen? That would be great. We do see it now. We do see your notes though.
Tina, you muted yourself again. I don't know if you meant to do that.
Was that no?
Sorry about that. Let me try this one more time. Now I'm sharing the wrong screen, so I got to figure out how to get it to the right screen, or maybe I can just move this down here. There, how's that?
That's great.
All right. So again, good afternoon. I'm here to report about the public engagement that's being conducted as part of the demand response study. The study covers 2 rounds of public engagement, and we've just finished the first round we were in person, doing some in-person meetings at the end of the middle of April, and we just closed the survey this week, actually, well, last Friday. And the purpose of the first round of the public engagement was to push people to complete the survey. The survey will allow us to better understand what the needs are of the people kind of in the outer community. If you see the map on the screen there, the green areas are the study area for the demand response service. We want to understand what the needs are and how those needs are currently being met or not being met. And then that's going to provide input into the scenario development that will take place in subsequent tasks. And then round 2 of the public engagement will give us an opportunity to get feedback on the scenarios that are developed on how we can meet the needs in this outer county region. So to help generate interest and increase survey participation, we recruited participation at numerous locations throughout the study area, throughout and near the study area. We visited transfer centers, senior centers, community centers, libraries, just kind of a whole variety of places out there. We went and spent a couple of hours at El Paso Community College's Northwest campus. We produced a lot of collateral materials, as you see an example on the screen there, to kind of create interest. We also had some materials that we gave away, pens and little notepads and that sort of thing. We also had comment cards available and drop boxes so people could leave information that way if they didn't want to take the survey. The survey was advertised on the county's website as well as TTI's website. All of that in an effort, again, like I said, to kind of push people to the survey to allow us to understand what their needs were. As I mentioned, the survey just closed last week, so we are now compiling those results, and we plan to have a tech memo documenting all of this by the end of this month. And again, this will all be input into the scenario development that is the next step in the study. And that's the gist of the outreach that has happened thus far. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I think we're good. Thank you so much, Tina. Appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, this will now take us to item I, and this is to receive a presentation from HDR Incorporated, and this is regarding the transit facility design plan. So I do have a PowerPoint and I have a PDF, so I'm not sure which one I should present first.
I'm gonna just get it started for PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, okay.
Or Annette, I can start with the one that I sent you first, and then I'll segue to Mr.
Oh. Well, let me take a moment then to introduce our guest presenter. He is a senior transportation project manager with HDR, which is based in El Paso, Texas. He's got 17 years experience in transportation infrastructure, expertise in preliminary engineering, environmental studies. He joined HDR about 8 years ago. He's also worked for TxDOT here in El Paso. And he has led many multimodal planning and programming efforts, that expended over $5 billion in transportation investments here in the area. Prior to that, he spent 8 years with the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization as transportation financial analyst and a planner. Long-standing experience on long and short-term plans for travel demand modeling and advanced regional air quality conformity as well. He holds 2 degrees in electrical engineering and in computer engineering from the University of Texas at El Paso. So Mr. Hugo Hernandez, this is...
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. You ready to go? Okay, thank you. I guess we can go to the...
I mean, did you want us to do the presentation like you asked us, Mr. Reynolds? Because that's what's here, or do we just want to go straight into?
Well, go ahead and do that then.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, this is Senate Transit Plan for DCA. And as you can see, a quick timeline of what we've done for this project. As you can see, in 2021, TxDOT contracted a KFH group to conduct a transit facility study, which confirmed that it needed a dedicated rural transit facility. And winter 2021, we applied for the rural discretionary funding for the TxDOT coordinated fund. In fall of 22, ETA was awarded the $400,000 in planning and design funds at no local match required. Spring of 24, planning and design phase completed on schedule using towards awarded funds. And that's the fall of 2024. Environmental clearance delayed the progress. A full FTA review was required instead of the initial plan category of exclusion. And late fall of 2024, after staffing changes, the ETA resumed oversight of this updated environmental guidelines. And from since the beginning of the year in February 2025, the formal environmental clearance had begun allowing the project to move forward, and we are where we are now because of that. And with that, Mr. Hernandez has a presentation for us.
We'll look at the PDF. Thank you. So, while that's again, Hugo Hernandez, I'm with HDR, higher under the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority, supporting the ETA's effort in
In the 15% design, we're elaborating into the transit operations and maintenance facility. So again, this is a collaboration between the CRMA and ETA. Can go to the next slide, please. So these are some of the items that we're going to be discussing through the presentation. There is a lot of material in there, but I'll try to skim through them. And then, of course, if you guys have any questions, please go ahead by all means. So preliminary design process, the space needs programming highlights, the site master plan highlights, the actual concept design layouts, and the construction phasing that we're proposing. Like Jesus was mentioning, the environmental and public involvement, and of course, its construction cost, the next phase. Next slide, please. So preliminary design, next slide. So to design a facility of this magnitude, it takes several steps. Like Jesus was mentioning, there were some previous studies already conducted, so we elaborated and validated some of those results, and of course, adopted some of those and extended our study into designing what we have right now. So we have programming, and then throughout those developments of KHI, there was a site selection. So there's a proposed site selection selected. Of course, it's undergoing the environmental clearance. So this time is the proposed effort. Okay. And then, of course, you go through the actual finalizing the programming, finalizing the site amenities, and then you drill down into the actual design and its refinements. Next slide, please. So as far as the programming, go to the next slide. The space needs, they have to follow some standards guided by FTA and also by the state. Some of those are very important. Essentially, if I can point out, for example, if you have more than 30 buses, you're required to have one repair bay. And also, if you have more than 50 buses, you need to have a preventive maintenance repair bay. So that would be essentially kind of, it would sound like you're duplicating work environment right there, but it is required by state and by the FTA to have two separate bays. Next slide, please. So some of those results, let me follow through that because it's a little small on the screen. So some of those results of the amenities resulted in having, of course, supporting a facility that would hold about 112 staff members for the initial phase. Earlier, I mentioned that we were proposing to have a construction-based effort or approach to this facility, essentially because of the to accommodate for the growth of the ETA's operations and maintenance. So at the initial phase, it's proposed to hold about 112 staff members in a total of about 5 acres in terms of operations, maintenance, and administration, which will include staff members from ETA and, of course, contractors, buses, etc. At the final stage, it will support an additional 139 people. And so growing up to a 10-acre facility. So again, in an effort to assist with the construction funding, since that's always a challenge with all the construction infrastructure projects, that is something that we are able to accommodate. Next slide, please. And then for the charrette, next slide. So for the charrette, essentially what happens in that process, the team members kind of go into the weeds as far as what these requirements will be essentially resulting on. And so how we can accommodate those 10-acre facilities and I'm sorry, that 10-acre facility, how we can lay it out so that it can best function, has efficiency, accommodates all the staff members, the buses, be secure, have fueling stations, etc. So we went through several iterations. I believe it was about 13, 14 different iterations of the site. And at the end of the day, we resulted into selecting E2. You see it a little bit small on the screen, but if you go to the next slide, it shows a little bigger. So E2, essentially, some of the key features shows, of course, the maintenance facility. It's composed of the chassis wash, composed of the maintenance base, composed of the preventive maintenance base, and also the operations itself of essentially all those people that are going to be operating that facility. Also resulted into having the need of a separate structure to hold the ETA staff, and of course amenities to hold meetings such as this one or any other trainings for the operators. It also resulted in having a few lanes, washing, so cleaning and servicing the vehicles, and of course the place to store all the buses. The future plan, I'll talk a little bit later on, but it also, this 10-acre facility or what it's approximate, it can hold also, the plan was to hold electric vehicles and with its stations to actually charge vehicles, either vans or the buses. We go to the next slide, please. So the actual concept design, I guess getting into the meat and potatoes of this, next slide. That's just a rendering of what the facility can look like. Essentially, that's just a view of the maintenance building. But again, one of the key things to mention here is, of course, we focused on the design, the safety of the design, the department efficiencies, but a challenge was also, of course, the site constraints itself. Next slide, please. So now that I'm going to point out a few of the details in terms of the construction phasing that I was mentioning to accommodate and of course to account for the budgeting and in terms of efficiency and how it accommodates the growth of ETA's operations. So the initial phase, what has been proposed, it's about a 4.6 acre facility. So let me try to get a little closer to the screen. Essentially, it's going to be the middle of the site. The ones you see kind of shaded, non-shaded. It does have a mix of the maintenance building will be split into operations, administration, and then of course, kind of the other half of the building would be the actual base, the repair base, the maintenance itself of the vehicles. It will also include the shared fuel lanes and the fare collection. I'll show you in a little bit how that changes into the final design. It does have the services of the clean the vehicles, essentially the washing station. And of course, it will hold agency parking, employee parking, and visitor parking. The access to this site, which is going to be very important in terms of how the vehicles will be coming in and out, will be through Sherrington Street. Now, with that, if we can go to the next slide. I'll touch a little bit more on the access on the future, the final build out. The building that I was talking about in terms of the maintenance, if you guys see on the screen, essentially on the left side, you hold the administration and operations about 7,000 square feet. And then in the middle, you have maintenance support, so storage, oil tankers, compressions, things like that. And then of course, on the left side, you have the actual base or the repair base and preventive maintenance base with some offices behind those that will essentially host or hold the operations staffs for that. Next slide, please. This is just, of course, the building itself is a tall structure, so we'll have room to have seat some of the areas to accommodate and assist the supporting the operations staff. Next. A little bit of the details into the fueling station. Now, because it is our understanding that the ETA's goal is to have of course, CNG fueling, diesel, and eventually electrification of the vehicles. Right now, we only have CNG fueling, gas, and diesel. So it will be essentially hosted within the site itself so that it operates a lot more efficient in terms of replacing the refueling of the vehicles at another site or another place. It also has a washing bay itself, of course, a little bit of space for the trash collection for the site itself, and all the disposed materials. Next slide, please. So this is just the rendering of how the initial site will or could potentially look like. One of the key concerns, if you guys look on the left side of the screen, that would be essentially looking west. You do have a lot of residential, a lot of housing, essentially in your backyard. So that's something to consider for future comment that I have. Next slide, please. So now, moving on into an interim build-up. This will essentially accommodate an additional capacity of the buses themselves, the agency parking itself. Now on this one, what essentially happens, you move all the administration of the building from the maintenance, and you move them into a new building. And you to the north side of the site, and the access to that would be through Windermere. So essentially would completely separate the operations and the administration operations of the ETA and the services themselves. With that, you accommodate additional parking. You also accommodate, of course, a secure area for visitors, for the employees versus, of course, separating the visitors from the site itself. So you gain an additional just about two more acres on that site. Next slide, please. This is just the layout, of course, all subject to the funding and to the environmental clearance. This is just the layout of what it can accommodate. Some of the key amenities that this administration building will have is, of course, a shared lobby, essentially because it is a government agency. So they're understanding that public might need access to it. So from there, you split into the operations itself and the administration of the building. It does have conference rooms, like I mentioned. They're fairly large, good size, has fitness rooms, restrooms, driver's lounge to, of course, assist the operators in some resting time. The dispatch itself, and of course, the fire recovery area, and of course, some patios itself. That is planned in a way that it can hold additional square footage of administration in terms of the ETA staff growing. Next slide, please. This is essentially the level 2 of the administration side. So again, it's separating the operations of the site. Again, with many amenities, you have executive offices, IT storage, all the amenities necessary to run essentially a government office. Next slide, please. Now into the final or the ultimate build-up. So essentially, you'll be gaining an additional 3.8 acres. You'll have, and there's a plan, of course, to extend, like I mentioned, to electric vehicles. You'll have access through another road that is essentially the backyard in the south end. Now, the dynamic here is that Tierra Este extension is underway. So that plays somewhat of an important role in this facility. And so we had to accommodate essentially what was going to happen to Tierra Este and how Sherrington was essentially become a driveway to this facility. So it turns Sherrington into a driveway of the facility. And I don't know if you guys see it, it's sort of in the middle, kind of with a big frame in red. It does also accommodate, so this would be Sherrington, Tierra Este would be coming in on the east side of the site. This road on the southern end, Scioto, I believe Scioto Street, it is already underway by developers. So that is something that, of course, that's going to be some savings in terms of developing access to the site. That will essentially become an additional access should it be needed for additional buses. The additional parking that you'll gain on the southern end essentially accommodates these standard buses. I believe they're 40-footer buses. And so it does accommodate that. There are plans, of course, to also extend the fare recovery. So by Sheraton having a driveway, essentially it would be blocked to the public only. It's under understanding that Tierra Este is designing that road only to have access to a pond, essentially for maintenance. So with having that shared access to the ETA facility and to the pond for maintenance, that allows the opportunity to have the fare recovery lane. And that way it does not have to go into the facility where you have to be doing fueling or washing or servicing the vehicle and also doing the fare recovery. So that would be two separate operations, allowing for more efficiency into that operation itself. With the final build out, you also get a chassis wash that will accommodate both, essentially, or all three paratransit vans and the full-size buses. So those are the additional amenities that you'll gain in terms of the final build out. You go to the next slide, please. That's just a layout of the additional amenities. On the left side, the maintenance essentially becomes the servicing base for the full-size buses. Next slide, please. This is just the rendering of how the maintenance building will look like, and also from the front or from the back end. Next slide, please. Now this one would be with both of the administration building and the maintenance building itself. So you have two buildings. They're going to be oriented in a different way, essentially to take advantage of the sunlight with the El Paso having over 300 days of sun, saving some electricity there for lighting. Next slide. Some of the final report itself also shows some of the equipment that will be necessary for the operations of the buses and the maintenance team. Next slide. Along with that, again, this is the way it would look with two paratransit buses, and essentially will accommodate one full standard bus in this repair bay. The report itself and the final design will also include essentially instructions on how to operate those safety factors and have you. So next slide. This is just a rendering of how the parking will eventually look like on the final build out. It does have shaded canopies and the spacing in between the vehicles for charging themselves. Next slide. And now this is what the rendering potentially look like in terms of the final build out of the facility. Like I said, one of the key factors in this one is that you have some residential housing on the side. So the facility, the fueling, and the heaviest noise that it will emit is essentially designed into the Sheraton area. But even with that, it does emit some impacts, some noise impacts to those residents. And I'll explain a little bit in terms of the environmental, what does that mean? Next slide, please. Now the environmental and public involvement. Next slide. So we're planning, I guess before that, this is essentially the timeline. We're looking forward to have, or anticipating to have environmental clearance by October, by early fall this year. And so our environmentalists working really hard, pushing the state to get us and FTA to get us environmental clearance for that. So Then after that, you'll get essentially started the final design itself, for then eventually to go into the construction phasing. Next slide. Like I was saying, in terms of public involvement, we are planning to have a public meeting on June 24th. There will be some emails sent out, and of course, an official public notice that would be done 15 days before the meeting. And the public will have, in addition to the date of the meeting, they'll have an additional 15 days to provide feedback and comment about the facility itself. Just a couple of renderings on the right side that how the facility will look like. The format's going to be open house, so everyone's welcome to attend. We'll have boards essentially of what this facility will look like. And of course, we're looking for participation from you all, from the board, and all the constituents around the area to are welcome to join us in that meeting and show and see what it can look like. Next. In terms of environmental impacts, I'll skip through the next few slides, but we do have a traffic impact analysis. Some of those results in having a this is into the future for the final build out, 2049 year, essentially 2050, some years from now, of course, but essentially the Tierra Este will help facilitate access to the facility, which is a good thing. However, because of the additional traffic that Tierra Este is also bringing in, it will warrant some signalized intersections. And so this one is just showing you, if you see those reds, oranges, those are in terms of the future. Those intersections are the ones that will need to be looked at in the future in terms of coordinating with your traffic department to see how we can accommodate those signalized intersections. Next slide, please. Some of the environmental studies that we have conducted already, of course, land use, zoning, county does not have zoning, but of course, there are some restrictions and some coordination that taken place. When I was saying in terms of the noise and vibration, so essentially it's through the actual operations of the facility because of your neighbors, and through the construction, again, because of your neighbors. So one way to mitigate this is, of course, to use special machinery for the construction itself. That reduces a lot of the construction noise. And also, whenever this is built, there is a proposal that you will need to build a noise wall, essentially. And this noise wall, of course, it goes through a little bit of a different process in terms of if FTA does require that or not. It's not a completely requirement right now, but it is a proposal and it is an impact that it has to be mitigated. Next slide, please. Historical and cultural resources, there were no dinosaurs or bones or anything like that found. So that's a good thing. And this report has been submitted to our Texas Historical Commission. And so we're looking, of course, we're very positive to see that it will be approved and it will not require further investigation on that end. Our scientists went in and dug up some trenches and to check for those things because of the warranting of the area. Section 4F has been completed. You do have a park adjacent to it. And so that is also something that needs to be looked at in terms of what was going to be the impact. So far, it looks like there's going to be no major impacts to that area other than the traffic that I was saying before. Bioresources, wetlands, air quality, none of those have had any major impact. So again, like I was saying, we're very enthusiastic to get environmental clearance, hopefully a little sooner, but we do have to conduct that public meeting to get that clearance. Next slide, please. And I believe this is the second to last slide, but the site itself does have some trash and of course some debris that has been left over, I believe, from other areas that had been adjacently constructed. So it is recommended that of course is cleaned up before and disposed of properly before the construction of the site. Next slide. Initial cost. Next slide. Now, in order to help in the funding challenge, the initial site as presented today, it is about 24 million. We understand, and like Sir Bañales was saying earlier, in terms of the funding, we understand that it's a challenge, and we're working with the team to see if we can, of course, try to do some efficiencies in terms of the design and what it can be initially built out. But again, once we start getting into the weeds of what needs to be removed, there needs to be an efficiency type of evaluation so that we still build something that it works for ETA. We don't want to have buses queuing up on the street waiting for servicing or anything like that. So we want to have a very efficient operations facility for you. Next slide. And the next steps, like I was saying, next slide. It does take time for a facility of this magnitude to get built. Of course, we've just completed the very left side of the screen, the preliminary design. Our next step is to go through the final design, and then the final design itself will lead into the construction and the post-construction and management of the site itself. But with that, I believe we just have some pictures of what HDR has worked on and what it can look like. Go to the next slide. But with that, I'll open up for any questions that you have.
A question on the environmental.
Mm-hmm.
You take me back to what was the reason that you couldn't get an exception or an exclusion?
Because it was an undisturbed site. Yeah, essentially that was essentially it. If it was something that a developer has done something to the site, then it would have allowed as an exempt, essentially. It is, again, it sounds like it is a lot, but it is one of the simplest environmental documents that this site is undergoing. There are other two more categories for environmental documents, and those take a longer time, a lot more effort. But this is, I mean, everything has been going through FDA coordination and essentially also the state DOT.
I was asking that because I thought for design, typically, those are considered soft costs. So typically, they would exclude that until you get to the construction phase. And then
no, that's another phase of the final design itself.
But so the funding would be combined, right? Because if you split the funding, then you could just get a excluded rate. If it was just pure design that you're doing and not using any of that funding for construction, then you essentially be excluded, right?
Yeah, essentially. But of course, the intention of this facility is to utilize federal transit funding, so that requires to go through all the federal process.
Yeah. The other question I had is, can you take me back to the circulate? How do the buses circulate through the?
Sure. So if you want to go through the design, somewhere in the middle, go through the final build out back. One more. One more. Right here is fine. So again, the buses essentially on the final design itself will be in the middle of the site. The access would essentially be through Sherrington driveway, essentially, or Sherrington Street right now. Now, Tierra Este is under understanding that it's going to actually punch through Windermere. And so they have access through either Windermere, Tierra Este, or of course, Loop 375, Windermere. So depending on where the bus is coming from, it will essentially enter the driveway, and it'll start at the end of this driveway. It'll come in, well, before that, apologies. It'll come into the fare recovery, move on into the servicing, the refueling, and then of course into the wash or the cleaning. And then should it need any further maintenance, then it essentially drives over to the maintenance base. If it does not, it just finds its way to the parking. And it is designed essentially only to do left turns once you're inside the facility. It is designed in a way that you will not need to do any backing for safety reasons, other than if there's a van, for example, that will utilize the parking on the edges of the area.
The last question I had is, as far as the viewing stations,
Mhm.
are there any concerns because there's residential there, like you mentioned, as far as being that close? Or it's pretty much designed already to.
It is already designed with this buffer, but of course there has to be. It will be designed with the safety factors that will accommodate for any of those concerns from the residential areas.
Sorry, one last one. Sorry. Do you all plan any type of buffering between the residential and the?
So there is a buffering. I missed to mention that there is a pond because of every site development requires to retain its own water, wastewater. I'm sorry, any runoff water. And so we have that pond, essentially the residential areas, this right here on the west end. And there is a small buffer that will be about 5 to 10 feet, depending on what the needs and what we have for the initial design. And sure. And of course, the additional factor in there is the actual noise wall that will be designed to not only cover the noise itself, but it will be about 15 to 20 feet, depending on the requirement through the final designs.
Thank you.
Street, where the buses are going to be right at the entrance, dumping the money and stuff like that. Is there loading zone for that for accommodating 1 or 2 units? Worst case scenario, what would be the queuing of the other buses coming into there?
So our traffic did not put a lot of results into the queuing because it was showing a excellent level of service. But it will, I believe, depending on how the final stages of Tierra Este can accommodate the Sherrington, I believe there can be a queuing of about 5 to 7 buses, the full standard bus.
Inside the.
Yeah, inside the Sherrington driveway, essentially. But again, it is assigned with an efficiency that we will not need that much queuing in the area.
I have a few questions to pick up where Art left off. So this is in the unincorporated part of the county, this location?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm assuming there's no permitting authority, so will the design, we'd be designing the IBC standards for the building or facility? And so that'll be self-inspected or?
I could interject. Yeah, it's a Senate transit plan. In my previous experience at the county, my other departments, the ESD, which in this one I believe is ESD number 1, will have to submit all the plans to them. They will do their review and they will do their process. That's how the county gets commercial development approved through.
Do they get a building code or is it just fire safety?
Fire safety.
So the actual building code would be designed to IBC?
Yes.
Okay. The other question I had is you mentioned the design to accommodate 40-foot buses, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know if that was a board policy or condition if you're going down that road. I'm thinking more in terms of the design will ultimately lead to cost, depending how much you over design it or design it to what your expectations are. So I think the 40-foot is a question back to the board as to whether you really see yourself using that, as to whether you want to design it for you. If you do, now's the time to do it because you'll ultimately save money in the long run. But if not, you're over designing.
Rena has a.
Well, that was outlined in the KFH study in 2021, which KFH group was outsourced by TxDOT themselves to help us with that feasibility study and indicated that there would be a growth at some point. So we did scope to have the design to include that 40-foot option. That's why it's also a phased in construction approach, because do we need that at the beginning? No, but it's nice to have the designs already there so that if and when that happens, then that's a set design plan in place, and we can move forward with construction at that point.
And I guess the last question was related to the fueling. Two questions related to the fueling. On the CNG, is this fast fill, slow fill? Are there nearby lines to accommodate that?
Oh, we don't have the details yet because of the final design. It has to go through the final design itself. So, but it's just conceptual right now.
Okay.
So
Do we
there's
don't know
the
if
option.
CNG is an option, I guess.
Well, there is a 8-inch or 12-inch gas line that runs
Yes,
about
there is.
600 feet from there approximately. So there is.
And there's
The
opportunity.
capacity. And I guess again, back to the board, the diesel and gasoline comes with a lot of responsibility and expense. In addition to, if you have a mixed fleet, I don't know if you've gone down that road or not, but definitely wouldn't recommend that if you can get away from it.
I think our intention has been to go to work towards for this facility.
Just to clarify, so the ES01, I mean, in essence, it's just the fire code. So the county's not gonna have anything with the National Electrical Code. Nothing's gonna be inspected.
That's the IBC.
The IBC. So no one's gonna check that.
Well, sure, we will have an inspection for that, but the county does not have those inspection types for vertical construction.
Have that authority. I just wanted to add the traffic analysis is going to be really important because in addition to the Tierra Este extension, we also have the Montwood extension.
Yes.
To the east of this, which is could feed into Tierra Este.
That is correct.
Bring traffic down.
Yeah, that is correct. And the traffic analysis does already account for Montwood extension. I believe there's 5 new intersections that Tierra Este will have. That is already accounted for.
Quick question. So which comes first, the Tierra Este extension, that opening, or the initial phase of this site opening?
I believe that might be a question for the county.
Or not, what are the timelines for the Este? Since we're no longer in public oversight.
Okay.
I want to say, and it's not great, but it's possible they're going to be going on at the same time.
And to add regarding TxDOT has been very supportive. They've been guiding the plans. They feel that there is funding opportunities available, but they also are concerned that it'd be at a certain level. Honestly, there's a ceiling beyond which they would probably feel that it's not conducive to proceed. But they've been very supportive. They've actually, like I said, guided some of the reduction in size, in some of the design that was initially done. But we need to make sure that there's also a comfortable as far as the funding that is available. TxDOT feels confident is available. And of course, it's also not a 100% guarantee. But nonetheless, we continue to look at ways to fine tune costs.
What classification is that major street that you mentioned? Also,
I believe that would be a minor arterial.
minor two.
Yeah.
Just thinking of the traffic.
It's going to connect Montwood to Vista del Sol.
Instead of also to Pelicano or Vista del Sol as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, from the far east.
I was trying to envision the area.
It is going to be a big reliever for the area and essentially also works very well for the site itself.
And that's something that this property is. This property is located centralized, so we could have maybe connecting routes in the future. So
Well, I
helps
mean,
future.
it's going to be challenging, but I think in my mind, it reaffirms that this is a really good location for us to have our transit sources. Because it's going to, once everything's connected, it'll be much more seamless to go from Montana Vista to Horizon and other areas.
Do you have any alternate designs if the residential property owners exert significant pushback on it to like be able to flip the orientation around to where instead of where their backyards are facing the back of the facility where all the activity is?
Well, with the design of the noise wall, they probably won't even notice that it's there. I mean, those noise walls, I don't know if you've seen some of those on the freeways. I mean, some of those are 30 feet tall. They probably won't even notice that it's there. That is something that we're gonna, of course, gauge the public and check and see how they feel about that.
What height are you proposing?
I believe there was a minimum of 15 or 20 feet for a site like this because of the noise. There's some thresholds that determine the size of the noise wall.
If you look at this site, you know, from satellite, you'll see that it's surrounded right now with a lot of new housing construction. There's also a lot of 18-wheeler, like commercial property lots. In the county, the unincorporated county site.
Couple more slides.
So unfortunately, this is already a really loud neighborhood. Lots of heavy truck traffic, lots of vibration.
Yeah, keep going.
So
the
the
count
could this actually mitigates some of the
I think
noise for the neighbors.
I think so. Those that are there, yeah.
Maybe it'd be better than it is without.
What is the, I'm sorry, quick question on what is, sorry if I missed this, what's the public engagement strategy? I mean, what will that process look like?
It's essentially going to be an open house. We will have some poster boards available for the public to comment on. We will also have different ways for the public to comment, essentially email, written comments, of course, verbally talking to us. We'll be manning essentially the stations and the boards, but it's going to be it's usually a 2-hour meeting, so people can come in and go at their time. It is scheduled, I believe, from 5 to 7, but we can accommodate the time itself since we're really planning.
Is there a location for that?
Yes, it is I believe a church on Joe Battle.
Live Church?
Yes, Live Church.
Is there going to be direct outreach to the surrounding neighborhoods?
Yes, that notice that we're gonna post essentially is also gonna be mailed out directly to those residents in the area. And of course, provided to you all and the Commissioner's Court.
There may be additional outreach required depending on the source of funding you are able to get.
So you have a flyer for those, like a poster type of deal. If you can send it to me, we can actually print it and put it at the terminals where we have county routes so people can know.
We can definitely do that.
I didn't see like landscaping. Is there some significant landscaping?
This time, no, but of course that through the final design, I mean, that can be accommodated. Right now with the landscape accommodates is the runoff water. There's some preliminary results that it would take some elements of landscaping to capture the water.
I mean, considering that's a 15%, we can still include maybe 60 or 90 absolutely.
So yeah, there's still many opportunities to accommodate landscaping.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this will now take us to okay, so now we're going to be receiving a presentation on the final report for the helping obtain prosperity for everyone. This will be presented by the Texas Transportation Institute with Michael Walk. So I'm going to pull up my presentation.
Okay, thanks, Annette.
Hi, Michael.
Hi. You said you were sharing it, right?
Yes, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, just making sure.
No, no,
Awkward pause as we wait. Yeah, okay.
We're all waiting on you, Mines. Okay, I think see, it's not showing up, so let me do that again. Okay. You're good to go, sir.
Okay, thank you. Looks like there's some font discrepancies between the fonts that were supported in the original presentation and perhaps what's supported on your computer. So if there's any sort of weird layout issues where the fonts are spilling off, that would be apparently why. So this is Michael Walk, Texas A&M Transportation Institute, here to brief the board on the final report for this study called the Needs Assessment and Peer Review for a Regional Fare Structure and Payment System that Enhances Mobility for All, which is a very long project title. This has been referred to internally as the HOPE project, HOPE standing for Helping Obtain Prosperity for Everyone, study being funded by the FTA's grant program entitled HOPE, which was a grant program that actually several years old when this was originally awarded to Sun Metro, and then the study performed by TTI. Myself, my colleagues' email addresses are on the screen, Roya at Manani and David Galicia. So my goal today is just to walk you through the key findings of the report and how we got there. So next slide, please. The study itself was looking at fare payment systems as a way to try to support the economic vitality of the region and improve access, particularly to people who are in areas of persistent poverty. That was the focus of FTA's HOPE grant program. And how can, whether it's through transit services improvements or fare payment changes, et cetera, how can areas of persistent poverty, people living in those areas, gain access to opportunity in their communities? This particular study, again, was focused particularly on fare payment systems and how could there be potentially a regional fare payment system? What might it look like if there was something like this present in the El Paso region? The study was led by TTI, and then we had project partners. Sun Metro was the grant recipient and also contributed local share to the funding, and El Paso Transportation Authority also provided local funding and decision-making throughout the course of the study, provided feedback. Now, there were a lot of staff changes, particularly on the Sun Metro side as the study went along. So, that notwithstanding, just important to understand that there have been a lot of changes in the governance of the study along the way. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So the study was broken into 5 tasks. Just bottom line was to understand what the current needs were in the region regarding regional fare, regional travel on transit, and there was task 2 was learning from the industry and peers, which are some case studies and what other regions have regional fare payment systems or other alternatives for fare payment to improve regional travel. Task 3 was to evaluate different alternatives that might potentially work in the El Paso region for a regional fare system. Task 4 was to take those selected alternatives, whatever sort of came out as the top 2, back out to the public and engage the community to get their feedback on those alternatives. And then task 5 is to prepare the guidance and implementation. And then all that was packaged up into a final report that was delivered to the sponsors several months ago. Next slide. So what I'll do is walk you through, in a nutshell, each task and sort of what we learned from each. So task 1 was getting an understanding of the current area, the current system, and the characteristics of the riders. Next slide. So just some key facts from that that data. We have lots of other existing conditions, data points, but we just wanted to focus on a couple of key characteristics of this population in the study area. So it's a relatively young population in the study area. Over half of the population is below 34 years old. Majority Spanish speaking as the first language in the home. A relatively high poverty rate, being almost 20% or 1/5 of the population being at or below the poverty rate. The main mode of transportation, driving to work, at least currently, is getting to work is driving, right? So that's the main way to get to work is by taking a personal vehicle. That's 83%, which is actually a relatively low mode share compared to a low percentage for driving to work compared to some cities. And then regarding another key population characteristic is what percentage of the population makes less than $25,000 in income, which is about 1/4. And so again, this gets to the idea when you're thinking about fair payment structures, these are important population characteristics to keep in mind as we explore alternatives for regional fare payment and what sort of needs might be in place when it comes to paying fares on transit in the region. Next slide. As another part of task one was to talk with transit users and transit operators. So we conducted some focus groups to try to understand the transportation needs and patterns in the region, understand perceptions about fare payment methods and pricing and what people preferred when it came to paying for fares. A couple of the key takeaways are on the right-hand side of the slide. The reality is, the many different types of passengers has a wide variety of needs. Cash is the most common payment method in those that participated in our focus groups. Of course, it has downsides to pay with cash on transit that causes potential delays, and there's complexities with cash handling, et cetera. Talking with operators, they like the idea of the tap and pay, right? Like other alternatives for riders to pay fares, but still cash needs to be an option that's available for people to pay fares in the El Paso region. These initial focus groups also showed that riders and operators supported the idea of there being fare discounts for people like seniors or students, military, ADA passengers. The feedback we got regarding whether there should be a unified fare system or a unified fare structure in the region, there was general support across all the folks that we talked to. Not obviously everybody, but the consensus was there was support for this idea that the transit agencies in the region, the riders on the transit agencies in the region would benefit from a regional fare payment system of some kind, and not necessarily a news story, but of course passengers want more service, better frequency, and improved accessibility for older adults. All of this being something that y'all there, Sun Metro and ETA, have all been working on over the course of the years while the study was underway. Next slide. So that was the existing conditions work. Task two was the industry scan. Next slide. And this was made up of first doing a basically desktop scan, looking for other regions that have a high proportion of areas of persistent poverty, high low income population. And we also looked for areas that had in place like zero fare systems or reduced fare systems or other sorts of, might have a partial free fare system, and also identified areas that have regional systems. The final report includes findings from the industry scan. There were 10 transit agency peers that ended up into 4 case studies. You can see the case study regions that were looked at. Rather than diving into each individual case study, the next slide lays out some of the key findings from the case studies. Next slide. Thank you. Across the different types of fare payment systems, I'll focus in on just a couple of key takeaways that tie back to the final recommendations in the report. If you're looking at the far left-hand side, we have zero fare systems as being an alternative, as a way to have a regional fare system when there is no fares collected, of course, right? But it is not a panacea by any means. There are many challenges associated with zero fare systems like overcrowding and high demand. There can be safety concerns associated with that, funding constraints, et cetera. It does have some benefits in terms of improving access in the region, improving equity, et cetera, simplifying operations. So there's some benefits that the case studies uncovered. If we look at the far right-hand side, like regional fare systems, again, there are some challenges because if you have a regional fare system or a fare policy that applies to all the operators in the region, it does require significant stakeholder coordination, which can be complex. There needs to be interagency agreements in terms of revenue sharing. If the systems, the transit agencies want to share the revenue that come from, let's say, like a regional pass. Regional fare systems did have benefits on passengers because it allows them to travel among multiple transit operators in the region seamlessly, right? I don't have to buy a pass on transit agency A and then buy a pass on transit agency B, et cetera. And so that improves the seamlessness of regional travel, as well as can improve cost efficiency for riders, particularly ones that are taking regional or multi-agency trips. Next slide. So task 3 looked at the alternatives based on what we learned in the case studies. Next slide. There were 4 main concepts that were vetted through the alternatives evaluation. Those were on the left, including zero fare, a regional fare structure that allowed transfers between transit operators. One of the other options was a regional fare collection system. So the same all the transit operators having the same back-end fare collection technology. That's what we mean by a regional fare collection system. And we also looked at, no change, right? So just leave everything in the El Paso region as it currently is. And those were the 4 concepts that were evaluated through the 5 criteria on the right, which were aligned with the study goals, right? So the criteria was was looking at, how would this concept or approach to regional fare system, would it improve access in the region? Would it be easy for people to use? How would people without technology or banking be able to use this system? What would it cost to implement, sort of like $1 sign, $2 sign, $3 sign kind of level of estimates? And then what are the ongoing operation and maintenance costs? Again, as at an upper level. Next slide. So if you take the 4 concepts, walk them through the 5 criteria, the research team evaluated each of the concepts across the 5 criteria just using a scoring system. And in the end, these were the way that the 4 concepts got ranked through the evaluation criteria, with zero fare appearing on the top of the list and regional fare structure with transfer privileges being the second. Now, remember what the criteria are, because, if I was a transit agency, you go, what do you mean zero fare top, that's the best, right? Obviously the criteria of the HOPE study was what would improve access to people in the region, right? Be able to have seamless travel in the region. So, and it has no implementation cost directly apart from lost revenue. So the zero fare coming out on top through the ranking system reflects the fact that the criteria doesn't include lost revenue as part of the the ranking system or the scoring. But so these top 2, zero fare and the regional fare structure with transfer privileges, were then taken out to the public. And I just want to unpack this idea of a regional fare structure with transfer privileges. So that might look like that Sun Metro and ETA might have the same fare policies generally across the board, offer the same discounts, have the same base one-way fare, offer the same day passes, et cetera. They wouldn't have to use the same fare box system or anything like that. And under this kind of hypothetical scenario, it would be possible to buy some sort of regional pass, or transfers would be allowed between Sun Metro and ETA, perhaps for a small fee. And so that's what number 2 would kind of look like in practice. And then we took these out to the public and got some feedback. Next slide. And that's what task 4 was. Next slide. So in task 4, there was a public feedback tool that asked for riders to provide some information about how much they use transit, what kinds of trips they take, et cetera. And the main thing here that we're going to show you is what were their perceptions toward these different options. Go ahead and next slide, please. Was there a question? Oh, okay. So I have 2 slides in terms of key insights from the public feedback here. For the zero fare system, these are a few stats. One, yes, respondents, almost half, said they would ride service more if, of course, the fares were eliminated. It's not especially surprising. This, of course, would be particularly beneficial for those that don't have access to a private vehicle, which made up 34% of the respondents to the feedback tool. But interestingly, 48% said, hey, my ridership wouldn't change. And because fare is not the only thing that I actually care about the most, right? The service quality is also part of my decision-making here. 70% of riders that responded to the public feedback tool said they believe fares should still be required because they'd be concerned that if you stop collecting fares, then long-term funding sustainability becomes, questioned, and what's the sustainability of the transit service. So, riders reported they didn't want to risk the cuts to service because of lost fare revenue. Next slide. So regarding the regional fare system, so we still are collecting fares, but there's a mechanism and policy in place whereby riders can have seamless transfers from system to system. We had 42% of respondents said they would ride more frequently if there was some sort of integrated regional fare system. Obviously, this increases convenience for multi-jurisdictional riders, right? Ones that are riding both ETA and Sun Metro. Many riders said it wouldn't really change their usage, again, because service reliability outweighs their concerns about fares. We did ask some data about what would be a regional fare structure or price point that you'd be comfortable with paying. You can see some of the numbers here where we had 42% of respondents like that $1 to $2 fare range, 33% were open to $2 to $3, if the services are strong and reliable. Next slide. So really when we compare, these 2 options, obviously the zero fare system, it's very accessible, very easy for people to use from the rider standpoint. However, right, there are downsides. It's financially risky without stable funding. And if there's increases in demand that can't be met, or the loss of fare revenue reduces service quality, then it's not really an attractive option. When it comes to a regional fare system, that seems to be more fiscally sustainable. It does support still seamless travel across systems in the region and really aligns better with maintaining that long-term reliability. So, the riders that responded to our study really prioritize that service reliability, and that's a real important thing to them. And they're willing to, at least based on the data we have here, to pay, a reasonable fare, and they'd rather do that than risk losing service. Next slide. So the last task was to talk through some implementation strategies. Next slide. Obviously, this is far more complicated than we could possibly cover in the time that we have today, but we just put some bullet points up here that if the region decided to proceed with a zero fare system to support regional travel, there'd need to be several steps taken, like securing long-term funding, being prepared to increase service levels. You still have to track ridership if you're not collecting fares. And there's several other aspects to this. And there's more details in the final report. There's the potential for safety and security concerns or misuse of transit services when we're not charging people to pay to get on. That's another concern. Next slide. When it comes to implementing a regional fare structure with transfer privileges between systems, the region will have to take steps to try to standardize the fares, look at ways to possibly remove the transfer fees or to set some sort of transfer fee that allows a person to ride both Sun Metro and ETA for a reasonable price. There would have to be some sort of integration across payment methods, particularly if Sun Metro has a payment method that's not accepted on ETA. And then perhaps the most important bullet is number 4, which is if there were a regional fare structure and people could transfer from system to system, there would have to be some sort of revenue sharing agreement between all participating transit agencies and partners so that the revenue collected at the point of sale could then be fairly distributed to each system in proportion to the ridership that system has generated. and there had to be continuous monitoring, et cetera. So there's more details again in the report, but I just wanted to cover some of those bullet points. Next slide. So I think in the end, the results of this study found that perhaps the best path that there is, at least from a rider's perception standpoint, benefit to a regional approach to fare collection. Doesn't mean that we all have to have the same fare box or fare collection system, but some sort of interregional travel or pass product would benefit the region based on the data that we saw. And obviously there's a lot of considerations that need to be fleshed out if something like this were to be implemented in the future. And I will stop there, and my colleague Roy is on. I'm here if there's any other questions, and we can of course make sure this slide deck gets to you all. I apologize for not getting it to you in advance.
It's a great presentation. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Okay, so then at some point of our agenda, the next item is going to be the executive session. To go into executive session. And shall I read them? Agenda items? Okay, so the two agenda items I have for executive session include the pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, discuss and receive legal advice pertaining to RFP 24-002 fixed route. Oh, I'm sorry, 25-002 fixed route 88 paratransit and dial ride transit services in a Sun Metro interlocal proposal for fixed route services. And the second item is pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, discuss the proposed employment contract for John Hendo for the ETA Transit Director position.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Butler, second from Mark Ruben to go into executive session. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And the time is 3:19. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay, so can we have a motion to go back into open session?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Butler and a second from Mr. Rubio. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take 7K now. This is to this is to discuss and take appropriate action regarding RFP 25-002 fixed route American Disabilities Act Paratrans Dial Ride Transit Services and the Sun Metro interlocal proposal for fixed route services.
Yes, I will make a motion to for the EPATS to make a recommendation to Commissioners Court to move forward with the highest performing respondent to the RFP.
Second.
So I have a motion from Commissioner Butler and a second from Mr. Hamby. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll now go to 7L, and that is to discuss and take appropriate action to approve the employment contract for John Hando for the El Paso Transportation Authority Transit Director position.
There's no action.
No action. Okay, that will then take us to adjournment. I can get a motion to adjourn.
I just want to say thank you, everybody, for your patience. Thank you, everybody online. Thank you for being here and for your interest in EPATS. And we hope to see you next time. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion from Commissioner Butler and a second from Mr. Rubio. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the time is 5:07.
We tried to make it by 5. Sorry.